it was like really looked down upon to speak your language in another place. And many people would be angry about it.
Crazy.
We were all born US citizens. We had our cultural Puerto Rican identity, but we really didn't connect to being American. The resilient part came when we would go home and cry and say, they're calling us Puerto Rican spics. What is that? Let's go to Debí Tirar Más Fotos. So now that album comes out. I'm listening to the sounds of everything that I grew up with. It was like a love letter to the island.
Welcome back to DOCE, the podcast for immigrants by immigrants. I'm your host, Valen, and my guest today is Jocelyne Buller, a Puerto Rican immigrant who moved to the US in the late 70s when she was just 12 years old. In this episode, we explore what it means to be Puerto Rican and American and the nuances of growing up in a time when being bilingual was frowned upon. Jocelyne turned language into her superpower by teaching language and Puerto Rican culture for 30 years, all while proudly raising a bicultural family. Please welcome my former Spanish teacher, Miss Jocelyne Buller. I would love for you to take us back to when you came here in the 70s. And if you could paint us a picture of what the culture of migration was back then. And like, why did your family decide to move here?
My parents just one day came home and said, we're moving to New Jersey. It was very strange because it wasn't New York.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody moves to New York, at least the Puerto Ricans did. And we were so excited, all five of us. I'm one of five children, and we were like, okay, great. Except my oldest brother, he was not very happy. He had just started, he was 13 years old, and he was like cool and had his own thing going on the island. And for me, but I was like, okay, let's do this. I can't wait to learn how to speak English. That was like a goal. Anyway, so we get here, and my father had been here already for 3 months. He came to like get a place to live, and my mom ended up getting a transfer. She worked for Banco Popular de Puerto Rico in Bayamón. That's where I grew up, right outside of San Juan. And she is going to now work in Banco Popular in Rockefeller Center in New York City.
Oh, wow.
This Puerto Rican family that doesn't know any, like she knew English. We at least thought that my parents knew English, but now hearing them speak English, we're like, do you really know that much? So we're all very excited around the idea of learning how to speak another language or just coming to the U.S. was like, oh my God,
like
that's
the dream.
So amazing. Yeah, the dream. And also because like we had now already been part of the U.S. We were all born U.S. citizens. We had our cultural Puerto Rican identity, but we really didn't connect to being American so much, especially when you lived on the island. So coming here, we didn't expect any kind of discrimination or any kind of, we were young enough to just kind of blend. However, we were very discriminated against because there was a language barrier, like you talked about, and there was, I guess, like a physical appearance difference in some of our peers, and we were a different type of family. Now moving into this new neighborhood where there was not one single Hispanic family, and definitely not Puerto Rican families around. So I think that hindsight, I didn't recognize that it was a culture shock. But now that as I got older, I realized that, wow, we went through so much to try to assimilate. So you're asking how it was when I'm 11 years old. I don't realize it, and then as the years went on, I definitely realized that it was different, and we were treated differently, and it existed, and there was like there was the bullying, and there was a little bit of, like I said, discrimination, and it was apparent, and then we felt the culture shock, and especially they put us in school for the summer, so we finished, school finishes in Puerto Rico in May. So we moved Memorial Day weekend in May, and then school here in the U.S. or in New Jersey ended in June. So that month they put us in that same grade just to be like an auditory, like learners, like not to be graded, just to kind of like start listening to the language. And I think you talked about being so afraid of like scared that that your dad left you and walking away, because now we don't know the language and we're being put in a classroom with many people that don't know anything about Puerto Rico.
I feel like it feels like the first day of like kindergarten, you know, when you're scared because it's like something new, you don't know what to expect.
Absolutely, it's so scary, especially when you can't communicate. You can't even tell maybe I knew how to say bathroom, but not like, may I go to the bathroom?
Right.
Just maybe like a one word, if that, cat, dog, colors, you know, like, that's not going to get you anywhere.
No, it's not.
Even though communication's communication, that's not going to get you much. Plus, you're new and everybody's looking at you. And so there were no other people that spoke the language. So that was very different because now, 40 years later, you come in to a classroom, and even in our classrooms, right? There's plenty of other Spanish speakers that you can kind of relate to. One funny thing that I do remember as like the first few months that I lived in the US was that I thought that if you had dark hair, you were Hispanic. So I would kind of gravitate to speaking or trying to speak to the people with darker hair.
That's funny.
Because if they were blonde hair, blue eyes like Barbie, they must be American. And then the Americans might not want to speak to me. And even though, again, we were American, so we were very different. We were like Puerto Rican first.
Right, I was gonna ask you about that. You said you didn't really identify with being American, right? Because you were Puerto Rican, you know? But technically you are American.
Right.
How has that evolved now that you've been here like years? Can you say like, oh yeah, I'm American?
That's a good question. So I think we always, and for some reason Puerto Ricans, we always say we're Puerto Rican first. Yeah. We don't ever really say, I mean, yes, I think all these years later, like, of course, we're American. I'm very proud to be American. But we have such a strong cultural identity to not only the island. And I recently saw something that made me laugh. And it was like a funny TikTok or something that said, you're Puerto Rican and you were born on the island. Oh, you think you're better than everybody else. So therefore, I was like, so I sent it to my sisters, and it's not that it's true, we're not better, but we were like, we're born on the island. You know, like a little like, okay, you know.
Like as a Latina born in Latin America, like that's how I feel.
Do you
know
feel
what
like
I mean?
that too?
I mean, yeah, you know, like.
I was born in Colombia.
People tend to assume that I'm like first gen, and I'm like, no, Colombian, born and raised. You know what I mean? I always say that.
It's a pride. It's such a pride to be that, to come and hold on to that.
To experience that culture growing up. It really is like such a privilege.
Yeah, and absolutely.
It's not that like I look down upon someone that hasn't.
No.
It's just more like I feel so lucky that I got to grow up there.
Yes, absolutely. I feel the same way, and my whole life I've felt so proud of that. And in like talking to you about and making me think about the story made me realize that I have always been such a proud Latina. Like, so I have never like left my roots. I've always held on to it, even though like, I think I told you, people are like, well, you and your family, you don't look Puerto Rican. I was like, what does that mean? Like, it was insulting. Like, I want to be who I am, and I don't think that it should fit a specific
I totally understand what you're saying. Given everything that's going on in the world right now, especially in the U.S., looking back to like the way the country was when you got here, do you think we're like going back to that sentiment?
And what aspect of discrimination or?
I guess just like in the way we like welcome or not immigrants.
I don't know that I can answer that, just because I feel like I was so young and I didn't know enough. I feel like hindsight, I can think like, oh gosh, there was discrimination about me. However, I had such a strong family, and thank goodness for my parents. Gracias, mami, papi, because they made us realize that you do not have to give up your identity to be part of to assimilate into a new culture. Let's hold on to our own culture. Yeah. So I don't know. I hope not. Yeah. I hope it's going in the right direction, but
I think that's super important, especially when you're young, to have that like grounding. You can still be Puerto Rican and you can like learn English. Both things can exist at the same time.
So I did hear, early on, 80s or so, like speak English. So nowadays, I definitely see that we are more open to speaking the languages that we speak, to hold on to our language, because language is a big part of our culture, and not only Spanish, in any culture. So I feel that early on when we first got here, it was like really looked down upon to speak your language in another place, and many people would be angry about it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, thank goodness that in our home we continued with the language, because our parents demanded that we continue knowing our roots, because once you come here, you really, especially so young, and I think you went through this, you really want to assimilate, because you're kind of lost. Like, you want to fit in, you want friends, you want to be invited places, and there's so many differences culturally with parenting, with Latino parents, that all of a sudden, we would end up having all of the parties at our house because my parents didn't trust anybody else. And if it was a sleepover, the sleepover would end up at my house, because there's no way that we were going to be allowed to sleep in anybody's house.
Yeah, I can relate to all of that. Except I didn't have parties in my house.
No. Like birthday parties. I'm talking about birthday parties mostly, because they were like, no, aquí no sé, aquí tú tienes cama. So the environment is definitely different.
Yeah.
We were made fun of, and I talk about being a high school teacher for so long, about resilience, right? And like really developing resilience. And I think that that's what got us through. Not only the love of our parents and making us feel so welcome, so strong, and like knowing that our culture was so important and not to let those roots go. The resilient part came when we would go home and cry and say, they're calling us Puerto Rican spics. What is that? Yeah, like really bad slurs.
Oh, wow.
And we didn't know what that was.
Right.
And when I'm talking about I'm saying my siblings, we're all five children, and like my mom had 5 kids in 6 years, so we're like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
So we were like a team all.
That's cute.
And it was cute. And my poor oldest brother, gosh, he fought a lot, like having to throw his bicycle out, and because he wanted to stick up for the family, and we have stories about that. But not that I'm recommending people do that, but we had to kind of like become resilient to like ignoring that, and we could have easily been like a family that said, you know what, let's not speak Spanish, let's not eat the foods that we eat, let's not listen to our music, and let's, just become what everybody else is like. And it was the opposite. The best parties were at our house. We had the best food. Everybody was eating arroz con gandules and pasteles, and everybody was dancing salsa.
I love it.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I believe that after a year, our peers started to realize, like, this family is actually like
Fun.
Not only fun, but like a family. Like they have values, and the values came from wanting to a better life. That's why my parents left the island. They wanted a better life for us, more education. They were very like, you will go and study and learn the language, because being bilingual was going to.
Were the opportunities in PR like limited? Is that?
So we were lucky enough. We've always been blessed that we were like in the middle of the, there were definitely this demographics and the social structures set in place, and we were always in the middle somewhere. So we were able to study in like private schools, and of course the private schools were always better than the public schools, and because they just had more resources, you were paying for it. The opportunities, my mom had a great job. She was a hardworking woman with 5 children.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So she was again, now later on in life, I'm like, oh my God, 5 kids, and she always worked. Most of the moms the American moms didn't work.
Right, and she worked in the city.
She worked in the city.
Wow.
She took a bus, and then with the elements, the change of weather, that poor woman froze her butt off at the bus stop.
How was the winter for you? You're an island girl.
An island girl. I wanted to be an island girl my whole life. What happened? I in the winter still, all these years later, I'm like, really? New Jersey, of all places? You couldn't pick like California or like Florida,
yeah.
something warmer,
Yeah.
which I love New Jersey. And I know that New Jersey was for opportunities and also so close to New York. And, and most Puerto Ricans went to New York.
Yeah.
And then I guess they started trickling down to New Jersey. And we were following my uncle, who was... he was already here. My uncle was in the music industry, and
cool.
he had a record label on 10th Avenue in New York City for the salsa and merengue, like a discography there.
That's so cool.
And yeah, so that's how we ended up in Little Ferry, because he had already been here. So we had cousins that they were older than us, but they had been, they had kind of studied like high school years here, so they were bilingual, and they were like the cool cousins that we got to see once a year. But they were older than us, so when we got here, we didn't have like that camaraderie and like that.
Did you start to like feel like Little Ferry was your home, or how was that experience for you? Because I know at 18 you went back to PR, right?
Right.
Why was that?
Okay, so Little Ferry was, there was like a sense of Little Ferry being home after like a year or so that we, learned the language fast. We learned English so fast.
Yes, people always ask me, I'm like, the immersion is crazy.
I don't know about you, but did you have any ESL classes? We had no ESL classes.
I had ESL classes, but they were terrible. I would always skip them.
Oh, we won't tell anybody. No, we had, again, that month that they put us in school for the summer. Then they put us, so after that month, then they ended in June. My mom put us in summer school. Okay. So now we were going to school with all the kids that failed all the other classes. But we didn't care, because we were just there to like learn English. And then we had a month off in August, and then we started school. I never skipped a grade, and I never had an ESL class.
Wow.
And it was because there was no other Hispanic kids around for us to, to...
Like, English was the only choice.
English was the only choice. So the immersion, like you said, it was like, perfect. And the fact that like we really tried to imitate the sounds of the kids around us, so we didn't sound like we were from New York, like a different accent, or a different Spanish accent. I wasn't trying to fake it. I was just like, this is the way that I learned English.
Right, yeah.
So
do people tell you that you sound like a white girl?
You don't have an accent. I'm like, I do. Ask my husband. My husband will be like, what did you say? I'm like, shut up. When you speak English, when you speak Spanish as badly as I speak English, then you can talk. Because he's like, because some things come out funny. Yes. And especially if I'm speaking in Spanish for a long time, it comes out funny. I'm sure you know. It's like, or certain words that I can't pronounce.
Absolutely.
My students would laugh at me. They're like, I would say that I'm like, there's certain words that I can't pronounce. They couldn't roll their R's, but I couldn't pronounce like words that ended in Tion. I'm not even going to say it here because it's going to sound funny. So Little Ferry it did kind of become home. Then what's funny, we went to Richfield Park High School. We didn't even have a high school. Mm-hmm. So after my last year, 7th and 8th grade in Little Ferry, then we all merge and we go to a new high school. We're merging with the Richfield Park. Now a whole bunch of other people that didn't know us. And there was a Colombian family, actually.
Oh, nice.
We were thrilled that their last name was Gonzalez.
Were you guys immediately like, let's be friends?
Yes. And we were like, yeah, of course. We were like, wait, tú hablas español. Nosotros también hablamos español. So that was cool. But they were from, they were also from Little Ferry, but I think they were all born here, I believe. Okay. So it was a little different. Yeah. Remember the pride of like, I was born there. So then after high school, I didn't let go of my roots, but I really kind of, in high school, you're trying to find your way and you just kind of blend. So
honestly, I think the same thing happened to me. And then I went to college and I met like international students from Latin America. And that was like like it brought me back, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot how it felt. You know what I mean?
Right,
So.
right. And where I taught you, you're probably like, okay, let's go with it. Most of them are,
Of course.
Same thing happened to me. And it was fine. I played volleyball. I was involved with, different things. Now, at this point, I spoke English pretty well, not great. And I had trouble with English classes because I never really fully learned both languages. I felt like, wait, there's a disservice.
I understand that. I get that, yes.
I was like, I was robbed because I really, so then that was part of the reason why I wanted to go back. To perfect my language, to know more about the culture, to see the people around me, to really live it now as an adult. And I had the opportunity to live with my abuela, and the best years of my life.
Yeah?
The best years of my life. I have still, it's interesting because we, as a family, we had all our family there. We had a lot of friends there. And throughout the years, all the families that stayed there, they're still there. And then the kids, their children are still there. So we all were able to kind of like reconnect. And I have friends from my childhood, from when I was 5 and 6 years old, and now I can still call them up when I go to the island, and I'm like, hey, estoy aquí.
I love that.
It's
you make me wish
awesome.
I had done that after high school.
Yeah, in a way, it's nice because
like a gap year in Colombia. Yeah,
a gap year. I guess that's what it was. But I did go to UPR, so not only that was great to try to take a grammar class in Spanish at that level when I haven't had Spanish since 7th grade.
Right.
I was like, el pretérito perfecto de qué?
I don't know.
¿Qué es eso? Porque uno como que no,
No, uno solo lo habla.
Lo habla. Entonces, so yeah, I was like, and that's where I think that was my interest in the language. The linguistic part of our language, and why I became a Spanish teacher was, because I now perfected it. I felt so confident.
Yeah.
And I had to learn all those tenses. I'm like, I'm going to now teach all my students those tenses. And then the cultural part, of course, that came with.
So you loved it over there.
I loved it over there. I loved the freedom, obviously, because it was kind of like a reverse going to college. So, where here you went to Arizona and then you were away from home. I was home here, and then I was away from home. So. Right. But not realizing that was really home too. Yeah. But it was new environment. I remember a couple of cultural shocks. Now remember, 5 or 6 years here, always went back. Every summer my parents sent us back. But that wasn't enough to kind of, and as I became like coming of age, then I would start seeing like the differences in like the relationships, right? So I see first culture shock. I didn't know who to say hello to and how to say hello to anybody, because here everybody hugged. Over there, everybody wants to give you a besito right away. Oh, and it's, even if I don't know you, it's going to be like a kiss on the cheek. Yeah. And it's very warm, and it's very.
It can be very invasive too, though.
Right, because now I was in the two cultures, like a little bit like, wait, I didn't grow up with this, so I remember feeling like, ¿a quién le puedo dar un beso? ¿A quién no le doy un beso? Like, what? No me sentía nada de cómoda porque era gente de mi misma edad.
Oh,
so,
yes.
It wasn't like an adult or anything, so I was like probably kissing everybody. The gas attendants.
That's funny, yeah. I mean, even here, I feel like that culture of like hugging people on the get-go, I feel like now I want to go back, and I have to be more intentional about that, because when I first got here, that was like my go-to, and then people were just kind of like, why are you so close to me? And you're like, oh, and now these years later, I'm like, wait, no, I like to be that way, but you just have to be like mindful, because not everybody here likes it.
No, especially after COVID. Nobody wants to touch you. And it's like, that's like, okay, let's, so that was interesting. And
what's another cultural shock that you experienced?
Backwards, like in Puerto Rico. So when I went, I didn't realize the use of language was so offensive. Like, so some of the bad words that now I was like trying to think that, like I can use these now. My parents aren't around because we were never able to use, foul language, and especially in Spanish. And now, like, I was describing something to, like, a friend in college, because I had, like, at UPR, UP, we call it the UP, Universidad de Puerto Rico. So I was, like, explaining something, and I'm trying to, like, use a name, and I called that person, like, a bad name. They're like, what? We don't use that name just like that, word just like that. And so there were words that I was like, oh, yeah, saying, whatever word it is.
Not a big deal.
It wasn't desensitized yet. Now it is. Now it's desensitized all over, but.
That's funny.
They were like, Jocelyne, That's not the way you say that.
Como que compórtate.
Pero Dios mío. And especially like the ladylike kind of, okay, so without saying anything bad, like in America, you're a lot like, in America, like we're here in New Jersey, people were like very like casual, and over there, very formal. Like especially when we went out at night, like these girls were like dressing to the nine, and I was very casual, so I had to adapt to the new cultural like standard of fashion too, like their shoes and their hair and everything. My friends, I was like, they all look so beautiful. They dressed, especially if it was a Saturday night, you went anywhere and every girl was dressed to the nine. And here I felt like I was like wearing my, my Reebok sneakers and my wigwams and sweatpants. And that was like, well, you're looking Americana.
Yes. I feel like that's still like to this day.
Is that like that in Colombia?
Like, yeah, when I go back home, I'm like, I want to be dressing up more. That's just like the standard.
I think so. It's a Latina thing.
But I feel like it has its pros and cons, Sometimes like you just want to go to a grocery shop and it's like, well, I don't want to dress up, Of
course not.
But then like people are going to look at you like, ay, la desarreglada, So, but my grandma, she's a very fancy lady. Like she will go through an airport. She has her heels on, her dresses. And I'm just like, that. Why? You look so uncomfortable, but you look great.
My mom's like, you're wearing jeans on the airplane? We're like, yeah. Actually, not even jeans anymore. Now it's leggings and like super comfortable. But she was like, ay, Dios mío. Ay, Dios mío.
Yeah.
¿Cómo se pueden vestir así? But anyway, so that transferred a little bit. And the warmth of the people and how everybody just helps each other. And then like being able, like the weather year round. The food, I definitely gained weight. Yeah. Because everything is like, I was like craving all of those flavors. Yeah. And I give myself permission when I go to Puerto Rico now. I do not count anything. I am having everything, like alcapurrias, I'm having bacalao, everything is fried. I love the Old Colony. It's called Old Colony grape soda, Unovita. I think you guys have like your own soda too. So this one, I don't know if it's made there or what, but it's like probably 1,000 milligrams of sugar, and I'm like having it with my whatever fried food, and I just love and crave all of that food. Sometimes I crave it now, and I found a couple of Puerto Rican restaurants in the area. There's usually more Cuban than anything else.
Yeah, especially around this area. Yeah. I was gonna say, so now at this point, like you were able to like, you're an adult, right? So like you're able to really like look at PR for the place it was in your childhood, but now the place it is as an adult, and then you can like look at the U.S., for the place it was as you were growing up. So I'm sure there were a lot of like comparisons going through your head.
Yes.
So when you came back and you met your husband, your now husband, I'm super interested in like learning about like those, I'm gonna call it cultural compromises, of like marrying somebody or falling in love with somebody who's like outside of your culture. I would love for us to talk about that.
Okay, yes. I know I told my husband, I was like, guess what? We're talking about you. So.
I mean, you've been married for 30 years?
32 years. So it's gonna be 32 or 33.
I'm sure you have a lot of insight about this.
I do, and I think that I guess the love for family is what keeps people together, but obviously love and understanding and compromise. So when I came back, it was only about a year later, that I met him. So now I'm 22. And I think that I had, I had a relationship in Puerto Rico. And I just needed to come back for my own personal reasons. I came back, but I am now definitely seeing big changes and big differences in the relationships and the men from the island and the men here. But anyway, so I meet him, and so now he knows immediately like where I'm from, and that Spanish is my first language, and so all those years later, then I was probably still probably making tons of mistakes and in my language, because now I'm like in between Spanish and English again. Oh my God, que revolú. So I think that he was like a perfect guy to kind of blend into my culture. Not that I needed it to just be mine. Again, would have been okay if it were, like if he had something, I would be, open to doing that too. But my culture took over. And the reason it took over wasn't because I was selfish about it. It took over because I had it. And he didn't. He always felt like, I don't even know where I'm from, and he's a mixture of, like, he's definitely like gringo, but he's a mixture of like English and Irish and, I think Dutch. They found some in his DNA, mostly Irish, but no Hispanic, no language skills. He said that he took French in school. He didn't even know Spanish. And so when he started coming around, I think immediately he had to understand that we were going to speak our language and we were going to eat our foods. And not that it was like an ultimatum, like this is what you get, but he embraced it.
I love it.
And I love that he embraced it, because he was like, I love this stuff. And he was like trying to dance, and and he was like seeing how loud we were, and he was like, wow, your family is so close and you guys have so many cousins. And he loved that aspect of the family, and he loved the food and all of our traditions. The only thing he did not really like, it was a big culture shock for him, and he ended up switching it for our whole family. He was that powerful, was that when we opened on Nochebuena, our gifts on Christmas Eve, Nochebuena, we would all be like, rah, in 2 seconds everything was opened. And his family, you sit in a circle and you go around the tree, and here's yours, here's mine, everybody, okay, you go. Oh, nice. Now you go. And it takes
very
hours.
Organized.
Very organized. And when he saw what happened in my house with all the, like, wah, in 2 seconds, he goes, nobody knows what anybody got. I said, yeah, it's okay.
That's part of the fun.
It's okay. We don't need to know what anybody. And he was like, I don't know about that. So now we all have to do it his way. And in our family, like with our children, we all sit. It's like a big, to do. So he was able to influence us.
That's not a bad compromise. That's fine.
Not a bad compromise, because another thing he had to get used to was that, listen, we're going to speak Spanish, and we're not talking about you. So don't get a complex thinking that we're talking about you. And he would be like, I think that they're talking about it. But he got used to it early on to know that we weren't going to talk about it. That was just the language that we chose to always speak at home. And he embraced it. He never, we never had to like say, oh, habla en inglés porque John está aquí, John no sabe.
Right.
Sometimes then I would be the translator, of course, if we were like at a table. But so I have to say, all of these years, so me being a Spanish teacher, all of these years, he didn't want to learn Spanish. No. I don't have a language. I mean, I don't have a brain for language. It's fine. So, okay, fine. I taught my kids Spanish. And then for many years, we were speaking about him in Spanish. Like, no le digas a tu papá, pero... And he would not even care that he didn't have a clue that we were like actually speaking about him. Not in a negative way. It's just like I would be able to say, compré estos zapatos, no se lo digas a tu papá. So now, all these years later, I think he's on his 3rd year of Duolingo.
Wow.
After all these years, though, he could have done like my lessons with me and whatever. Yeah. Now he's doing Duolingo, and I'm listening to his Duolingo every night. Bing, bing. And it's so funny because he's really trying, and he's getting better, and he's like, I really, really want to learn the language
Wow,
now.
it's never too late.
Never too late. And especially after all these, like years and listening, I guess you get used to the sounds of the language and you pick up things, but he's getting better. I'm very proud of him. The kids are really proud of him. And, but yeah, the compromise was definitely, I think I got lucky that he loved my culture.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like an extension of you. So like,
I love that. And he loves my family. He loved my family. He, just everything, the craziness of the Puerto Rican household. They would call it a Puerto Rican madhouse, actually. The friends that came over, because you know what it's like. It's loud. It's everybody interrupts everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I'm Latina and I think that Puerto Ricans are loud.
We are, right? We are. We're loud. We get very excited. It's like we're, yeah.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
So was there any specific like stereotype that you were like concerned about, or that you were like, you know what, if the fact that my partner doesn't have this, it's good, or like, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yes, definitely. I mean, there's like some negative stereotypes about men, and, the whole machista stereotype, I think I can, easily talk about that. I was so happy that he didn't have that trait because he kind of let me be, and didn't question, like things about what I was doing, if anything.
Because you were a woman?
Yeah, because I was a woman. It was fine. We were equals, and being an equal was so important. So, and I worked, like I helped, with the raising of the family. Of course, women always tend to do a lot more, but the fact that he was more calm, it was really good for me.
Yeah.
Because I was so not calm. And it was a good balance. And the stereotype that I think I can mostly say that I didn't really want was, someone that was not going to allow me to be the independent American woman that they wanted me to be, because that's what my parents brought me here for, right? They didn't want me to be subservient or submissive to any man. And I am glad that he allowed that, because I would not have been able to, again, I was like having an identity crisis too. Like, who am I?
Right.
I'm bicultural here, and I don't even know, like, how am I supposed to act? What are the expectations of my role?
Yeah.
And luckily I was able to keep it, but then have that little Americanized part.
After you go through the, struggles of like culture shock and biculturalism and like crisis identity, at the very end of the very long tunnel, I think it's like being able to pick and choose what you like of each culture. Because like all cultures are going to have pros and cons. And then like, because you can jump in between the two, you can pick what you like. I love that. It's like a menu.
Yeah, and you wait, isn't that why we're here? Freedom to pick and be able to pick the ones that fit you, and that you don't have to be in a box.
Right. Yeah.
Because you're like from this country or from whatever. I mean, for me, that it worked for me.
Yeah.
And so 30-something years, it's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah, and he's finally learning Spanish. What? Like,
it's never too late.
It's never too
Ladies,
late.
it's never too late.
It's never too late. Duolingo, well, let's plug them, right?
Sponsor us.
It's like, right? 1,000, like over 1,000 days in it. And there's so many people that want to learn Spanish. I mean, it's such a beautiful language.
Yes, I think also the globalization of music has helped that so much.
Yes.
It's awesome.
I know, music, and you know how in my classroom I was always like looking for songs, and because I feel like I learned English also by listening.
Yes.
And we didn't have Google to translate our lyric or to give us our lyrics. We had to actually listen, pause, write it out. I know, I'm totally aging myself. I'm totally aging myself. But that's such a great way and such a great tool to learn new vocabulary, to learn the pronunciation of words. That's how you spell jewelry? Like, really? Who could say that word?
Yes. Absolutely.
That's like English is like crazy.
It makes no sense. English makes no sense. I will die in that hill. But when people ask me, like, I tell them the best way is immerse yourself. If you have a month and you can go, like, you know, somewhere in Latin America, do it. And then the next best thing, I think, is like watching like a telenovela.
Oh, absolutely.
And like something you'll be engaged in.
Yes.
Because like that's the equivalent of like listening to people speak.
It's perfect. A perfect way to learn language. If you want to learn, it's never too late. And of course, our language is just the most beautiful one. It was what an honor to have taught Spanish and like coming back from, you know, taking that Spanish class in college over there, going, oh my God, yo no sé español.
What a humbling experience.
Yes, and that I was like, they're like, you know, pon los acentos aquí, la aguda, la que, y yo, ¿qué es eso?
Ay, Dios.
Pero de qué habla esta señora está loca. And I was like, but anyway, I was like very interested in the linguistics aspect of language and like the pronunciation, how do people, and all the different dialects, and you know that gave me.
I was just gonna ask, like, what made you wanna, like, you gave us a brief, like, why you wanted to go into teaching, you were curious about the language,
yes.
But, you know, like, teaching culicagaditos in a high school is not easy. What made you wanna do that?
That's crazy, I know. Well, I wanted to, I always had such a good connection with all of you, you know that. Like, I just always, like, embraced all of my students. I just wanted them to always feel like my classroom was like their world as well, because we all came from so many different places.
Yeah.
You know, not only the Spanish-speaking places, but all areas of life. And so what made me want to teach Spanish and not anything else, because I definitely wanted to teach. At one point in my life, I was like, I think that I want to be a teacher.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't study to become a teacher. I was in business school, and I was like, I don't think I like this. But anyway, I ended up graduating and then went back to get my teaching certificate. So my sister was teaching in like a middle school, and she was doing like a maternity leave or something, like in between. She had graduated from Rutgers. She's a couple years younger than me, and I was kind of like trying to find myself, and I was like, I don't know where I'm going, what I'm going to do. So I was a little older. I was like 20, in my mid-20s, when I decided to go and get my teaching certificates. But because my sister was coming home with stories about her students and the connection that she had with these kids, and I was like, that sounds so nice to be able to, I know, right? To like have stories like that. And like she had a passion for it. She ended up quitting. And then I was like, oh, I have my teaching certificate now. I got to go for it. So I always say that it was because of her that I went into teaching, her stories and whatnot. But when I got my teaching certificate and I wanted to teach Spanish, I said, this is cool, because I love the language and the linguistics aspects of and I had amazing professors at Montclair State. I had actually 2 Puerto Rican professors.
Oh, cool.
That were like the grammarians of the world. Like, they were so brilliant with everything that they spoke about and how they explained the linguistics part of it. They taught me all about like all of the different dialects and why do Puerto Ricans don't say amor and say amor. And
wait, what is that? If you could give us a quick.
Oh gosh,
I'm always so curious about that.
So it's I don't remember the exact like reasoning for it, but there's a way that like wherever you place your mouth, like you have your tongue in your mouth is the way that you pronounce words, and like so it's part of like I can't remember. I'm trying to see if it's coming to me, but like I don't know the exact.
That's okay.
But there's also like the reasons why like we aspirate our S's at the end, which means that you say like "Cómo está?" and like you see, so like those, and where in Mexico they're like they pronounce their S's, and so all kind of things. It's been a long time since I took a linguistics class.
I have a Bolivian friend, and I would always like just to mess with him, I would say like "Ay, qué asco," because that's how he says it, just like
right, and then somebody else would be like asco.
Yeah, like in Colombian Spanish we say asco. Like our S's is when when I would listen to like reggaeton and like the beat goes to how they're saying it, and sometimes like I would be a beat behind because I'm pronouncing my S's while I sing, but like Bad Bunny isn't.
No, he's skipping a bunch of different things.
So I'm like a beat behind.
Well, if I definitely can't give you the reasoning right this second, but I know that it's just regionalisms, and it's language
History.
evolves, and language evolves. Language will always be changing, and the jargon that is being used is always gonna be changing, ever changing. So, but anyway, so my professors were amazing, and I was like, this is super cool. And then I get to teach culture, and then I get to be myself. I get to be that Puerto Rican girl, that
the island girl.
And the island girl. I love that you're calling me that. Because I'm like, I know the language really well, and I've studied it really well. So then I get to meet. I had no idea that my career would bring me to students from all over the Spanish-speaking world. So do you know how much I learned from all of you? I am so thankful for that. The almost 30 years that I had in the classroom taught me about your foods, and people from Chile, and the stories of my students that their parents had to be across the desert, and many, like, so much I learned from all of you, and plus you guys always kept me young, and I love that about teaching high school. So that's why I could deal with the little, and I had the pleasure of teaching in a really good district.
Yeah.
But the beginning of my career, my student teaching career, I had a lot of choque con the stereotype of what a Puerto Rican woman should look like. I was young and I didn't look Puerto Rican, and those people like in my classroom and others,
your students?
My students, I had a lot of trouble in the beginning, not with all, but during my student teaching days, I had incidents that you would have been like, how the heck did you ever even become a teacher after those incidents? Because of the discrimination of the, you don't look Puerto Rican, you are just a white girl, why are you trying to teach us Spanish? And I felt so prepared to be their teacher. So I was really sad. Like that was, 30 years ago.
Absolutely. You know what was, for me, what was really cool was that, like in Colombia, when I would learn English, I would be learning English from like a Colombian teacher who like was teaching us English, And like sometimes here and there, there would be like, the American English teacher, and he would be like from the US. So like that was cool. But then when I got here and the Spanish teachers were from Puerto Rico, Cuba, and I was like, oh my God, like what an authentic experience these kids get to have, because I already know Spanish, like at least to, the level that we get to learn in high school. But I always thought that was like really cool.
That is cool. I always thought that was going to give me an edge. The only thing that that was a little strange was that I did drop my name, so I became Buller, and I didn't keep my maiden name, Torres. It would totally sounded more Puerto Rican if I was Jocelyne Torres.
Versus, yeah.
And then Jocelyne Buller was like, like, what is she,
right.
Again. But nonetheless, it was really cool. I would not trade my career for the world.
Yeah.
I had such a good run, and the cultural part and the fun that I had in the classroom was because I was able to like tell others about, I'm hoping that some of the students listening to Bad Bunny now could be like, oh my God, el coqui, la rara, like I think Miss Buller told us about that.
I do remember like in your classroom you were teaching us about the maones, which is like the material jeans are made of, and that really stayed with me, because I was like, oh my God, wait, that's so cool. And you were talking about like the Tainos, like that was the first time I heard about like the indigenous people of Puerto Rico.
Thank God I had a student like you that paid attention. Thank God for you.
That was really cool for me.
Thank you.
Like,
I am so glad that you remembered that. Yeah, like yo soy taína. I would tell my kids that I was like, because again, I wanted my kids to know where I was from.
Yes.
And I said to them that when they were little, I'm like, I was a Taino princess when I, when And they were like eating their like arroz con habichuela, whatever, or maybe chicken nuggets. I don't know. Either or. You never know. And they would be like, oh, okay, mommy. So the Taínos, I was like, yeah, my father was a cacique. And so I had so much fun with it, you know, like, and then like, you know, what's really funny about a funny story with like my husband and I, like with the language. So I tend to still, to this day, not really be good at telling you an idiom in English.
I'm the same way. I am the exact same way.
I am the worst. Like, I'm really confident, and I'm like, I'm going to say this, like, because I'm in a group of, like, you know, English speakers, monolinguals, I should call them. And I'm like, okay, like, whatever I say, I mess it up, and my friends are like, did you just say? I'm like, oh my God, that's not how you say it.
And the worst thing is that you have so much confidence, and you're like, yeah, I said what I said, and I meant it.
You know what I mean. And you know what? Say it in Spanish and see if you... So,
Or like try translating like an idiom from Spanish to English, and people just look at you like you're crazy.
I have a good one. I would say to my kids, if they were always like, you know, going in and out of the house, I'm like, you're not warming up your house. Porque en Puerto Rico, mi abuela decía, esta sabe tanto que no está calentando la casa. Like calentando la casa, you know, being like present in your home, not like a heat or anything. My kid's like, heating up the house. I'm like, just go with it. Just go with it. And there's so many others that I'm just like, my husband, again, will say like, what did you say? Shut up.
That would happen to me a lot in college, and like I feel like my close friends were so used to it that at one point they're just like, yeah, I kind of know what you mean. I can get context clues, and they just kind of don't even mention it anymore. And I'm like, that's true friendship.
That is true.
I wanted to like bring to light that I remember when I graduated, like we went to get like food, coffee, or something like that. And you mentioned to us that, oh yeah, I do some volunteer work. I would love for you to talk a little bit about that, because I was like, oh my God, like this woman has 3 kids, she has a full-time job, and she does volunteer work, like.
So I always, again, wanted to help with my bilingual skills. Like I felt like I don't have many skills, but I have that. And nice handwriting, which is a funny joke that if my family listens to this, they'll crack up. So it was a great skill because you can help so many people, and you can bring people together by, you know, like the connection of language. So I became a court-appointed special advocate for foster care children in the county of Passaic. So in Passaic County, I went through the training of becoming a court-appointed advocate for kids that needed to have like a voice in the court system. So I was like the liaison between the resource parents and the biological parents, and then the eyes and the mouth for the court. So I would volunteer my time to visit the biological mom at this point, my case, who was non-English speaking, and she needed to be helped because she wanted to keep her children, but you know, wasn't able to. And then the resource parent, and I would represent her in court and help with like the
Translation?
The translations. No, the translations were made already, but just kind of like make sure that the kids were getting the services that they needed while they were in foster care. So it was really
amazing.
Rewarding because I was able to use my Spanish to, you know, like get them the help that they needed. It was so rewarding. And yeah, so that's, and then in the high school, I just always helped all of the parents that needed translation, like all of the Spanish teachers there, we all helped, but we would help interpret for the police or for the principal or for guidance.
Wow, I never even thought about that.
Yeah,
but that's awesome.
And you know, like confidential information that we had to translate, and also like social services, unfortunately, sometime. But it gave us it really made the being bilingual like a
it is
really
a superpower.
Yeah, it was a superpower because and then also helping families that maybe back then when I started,
right,
you know, we didn't have those services either, but we're resilient to like just go with it, and now I can help, and I love that. I love helping.
I know you do. All right, well, now I want to turn to talk about Bad Bunny. What do you think about him? Like, as a Puerto Rican, do you like him?
I do like him.
Yeah.
But it took me a while. It
Tell
took
me
me
about
a while to like him. So when he first started with his music, people my age are like, oh, Dios mío, ¿de qué habla ese hombre? And then, so, you know, then it's. I remember in the classroom, the kids would be like, Señora, por favor, let us listen to Bad Bunny. I'm like, absolutamente no. Aquí me van a votar si yo pongo eso.
They're not going to understand.
No, but still, can you imagine? They go home and then whatever. I was like, So, through the years, I was like, okay, I'm not going to listen to that. Oh my God, it's so like, it's vulgar, and it's like really degrading women or whatever. Like, I think I was influenced by what I heard.
Yeah.
I wasn't really paying attention to what he was actually talking about. And at the time, I think that he even had some music that was like love songs and ballads and whatever. But I just went with the crowd. I didn't listen to him, and I just heard what I heard. And anyway, so then as my kids get older and they're starting to listen to reggaeton, and also like my children listen to like everything, and my nieces and everybody that's, you know, like bicultural in my family, so they're listening to Bad Bunny. I think my son was with my nieces in Puerto Rico that week, that summer, Un Verano Sin Ti, and the day that it came out. So it was like all over Un Verano Sin Ti.
Oh my gosh.
Jason comes back from being in Puerto Rico with his cousins, and he's like, Mami, mira, escucha esto, whatever. So I was like, okay. And then Titi me preguntó, right? So Titi me preguntó. Now he's got a bunch of titis. We're all titis, and we're like, at family parties. I'm like, this isn't so bad. So then after that, you know, then I start noticing that Bad Bunny is like, he's not going anywhere, and he's now becoming more and more popular. And I also really liked that he was very inclusive to everybody. Like, he was part of like, you know, with every community, and like with the immigrants, and with like the LGBTQ, and very inclusive, and I love that. And then I started, and then let's go to Debí Tirar Más Fotos. So now that album comes out. It was like the minute that I heard the first song, I was bringing my son and one of his best friends to, they were going to, I think somewhere in Hoboken. I was like their Uber, and they're like, let's listen to this. And what do you think? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm listening to the sounds of everything that I grew up with. It was like a love letter to the island. And that's not like an original thought, because I did read that, but I really believed that when I like heard it. I was like, this is loving my island and my people, and this is the sounds of the coqui sounds, and like the plena and the pitorro de coco, and like all of the things that really put our culture together. Anyway, so I do love that album, and I think he's doing great things. And my nieces went to see him. I was so jealous. And La Residencia, they got tickets, and my sister-in-law went. They said, and then I kept seeing it on social media. I'm like, I need to get to this concert, but I didn't. But we're going in Madrid, right? Yes. We're going to Madrid because he's going to tour, and you know, Jason will be out there, and Jillian wants to go, and you're coming.
God, yes.
So I love what he's doing for the island, and it generated so much. I believe it was like $700 million for the island.
Oh my gosh.
In the residents, with like hotels and food and, you know, restaurants and Ubers and
the
taxis.
Economic impact.
Yeah.
But then like think about also the cultural impact globally.
So the cultural impact too is like to make sure that everybody remembers that these are our roots, and it doesn't matter what happens with the U.S. because there's a little political tone to what he's saying, and I don't have an opinion on that. But to make sure that the younger generation knows their roots is pretty amazing. I really love that.
I watched the last concert, the televised one.
Did you?
And I cried like when he was speaking, because there's like so many like universal elements of like, it doesn't matter where you are, like you always bring your roots with you. And also, I've been seeing these videos on social media that it's like, you know, this guy like dancing to like one of the songs of the album. It's like, yo el menos puertorriqueño.
Yes,
and you're
I've
just like,
seen those too.
it's like, I
love
feel so
that.
Puerto Rican. I'm not even Puerto Rican,
Well,
you know?
and then that's the thing, like, yo soy boricua, pa' que tú lo sepas, is like a real thing now. Like, every boricua is like, I can't imagine that you don't like what he's doing. I mean, I'm sure that there's people that don't, but nonetheless, the music is good, the message is great.
Yeah.
What he stands for is good. Again, I know it on the surface, but what I hear in music is like universal language. You have all kinds of people listening to him.
Yeah.
And he put Puerto Rico like on the globe. And
Yeah,
we're
he
such
did.
a tiny little island with like a lot of oppression and there's a lot of problems there, but he's making it known. And then he brought all that money in. It's a great thing. I don't know. Do you like that bunny?
I love him.
You
oh my
love
God,
him,
I love
Benito.
him.
He's like, I felt like I need to meet him.
I think I would pass out if I met him. And I've been listening to his music, not to be like, I knew him from the start, but since college, like 2019, like when they would play like a throwback songs, and most people are like, I'm like singing with my whole heart. I'm like, I've
So
been
you liked
listening
him
to
from the
this
beginning,
for
yeah.
years. I actually, when I first started listening to him, like in 2018, I was like, ugh. But then like something switched in 2019, and I was like, oh my God, I love this.
So let me ask you something. Do you think that it feels like Puerto Rico, like when you listen to Debí tirar más fotos, or like is it just because I know the rhythm and the sounds of the language?
I mean,
of the culture.
I've never been to the island, so it would be hard for me to say. But like, I feel like the passion and the love for the island like really like seeps through the album and through the music.
Yeah.
So. Like, I'm telling you, when I play that album, I feel like I'm Puerto Rican.
Love it.
I love it,
So start dropping your S's and change that R to a more.
I don't know that I can.
No, you can't. Because that sounds funny, actually, if we try to imitate other people's accents.
Yeah. No, I would never.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, is it okay to call somebody else Boricua? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a term of endearment. It's a very proud...
I don't know if that was like
proud.
only Puerto Ricans who call themselves like Boricuas, you know?
No. Yeah, ella es boricua.
And
tú eres boricua. Sí, yo soy boricua.
What is-
You know, like, yo soy puertorriqueña. Usualmente uno dice, si estás hablando con alguien que es latino, yo soy boricua. Like, you go with boricua first. It's a good thing. And you know where that comes from, right?
No, I have no idea.
Okay, quick lesson. Of course, I'm always teaching, right? So, for the Taíno Indians, we were Borinquen. Well, we call ourselves La Isla del Encanto ahora. And Borinquen was the name, you know, so that the Taínos had for us. So Borinquen became, you know, like that's why we're Boricuas. Borinquen, la isla de Borinquen. Nosotros éramos Borinquen. Al principio, antes de Cristóbal Colón, antes de que llegaran los españoles, éramos Borinquen.
Okay.
It actually shows that you know us a little bit more.
Instead of saying Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
And what is pitorro de coco? Is
So
that a
that's
liqueur?
It's like a moonshine, like a really strong, you know, coconut drink. I've never really had it, believe it or not. I'm like one of those Puerto Ricans that has like, it's weird, like you're Puerto Rican, no como pasteles, no me gustan los pasteles, which are like the ones that are wrapped in the leaf, in the plantain leaf. So I don't eat those, and like all Puerto Rican women need to have like la doña que te hace pasteles en Navidad.
I mean, I'm Colombian and I don't drink coffee.
Yeah. Oh, right. So I think, same kind of thing. So, and I don't really like arroz con gandules that much. I like the one my mom makes sometimes. And there's certain things that I'm like really Puerto Rican.
I mean, you're allowed to also just have your own preferences.
Yeah, of course,
you know what I mean?
Of course. I used to, and then again, I used to eat like, you know, patitas de cerdo con mi papá, and I'm like, what the heck was I eating? Why? So, you know, like, no, that's not happening anymore. But,
okay, so I have questions for you. These are like fire questions. So it's this or that. So what do you prefer, mofongo o arroz con gandules?
Mofongo.
¿Salsa o reggaetón?
Salsa.
¿Cuál es una palabra puertorriqueña que nos puedes enseñar?
Acho, you know what acho is?
No, I have no idea.
Muchacho.
Ah,
Muchacho.
okay.
Acho.
¿Cuál es tu dicho favorito? What's your favorite saying?
ojos que no ven, corazón que no siente.
Okay, muy bien. Like a closing tradition that we have is like, if you can give advice to like your 12-year-old self, like one piece of advice, what would you tell her to make her journey easier? Yeah, just a little bit.
Wow. Okay. So I would definitely go back and not be upset about whatever happened with, being made fun of or being afraid to learn language and being afraid to speak my mind. I was a little shy, I think, because of the language barrier for a while. And I think that I would just be like, it's going to be okay, because it was definitely okay, and it's going to continue being okay.
Yeah.
I'm never going to let go of my roots. I don't care if people don't think that I sound like a Puerto Rican or that I am not Puerto Rican. I am 100% Boricua.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in today. Please follow us on Instagram and YouTube at DOCE.podcast. That's DOCE.podcast. Leave us a 5-star review on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. This was DOCE, the podcast for immigrants by immigrants.